I think most people have no idea how big this actually can get. The altcoin market is like, I want to talk a little bit about getting the right expectations because a couple months ago, people were saying, well, if everything it's a 2 or 3x, I'm out. Well, these people are out now, I guess, right? But it hasn't even started yet. So let's take a close look how altcoins can do during this market cycle and alt season that's potentially coming up. Because we have a lot of data right now. We see how Bitcoin does. We see how Ethereum does. We see how much liquidity there is. And we can literally see like, hey, if this much liquidity is flowing there, then this is the result. So if this much liquidity is flowing there, right? So let's take a look at that. Nothing like too, like moonboyish, nothing too bearish. Just like, let's keep it nicely in the middle with the charts that we actually have right now. So we can create a right expectation. Because you, of course, in this market, don't want to say like, yeah, I'm not selling before I hit $1 million with my $50 investment, right? That's not realistic. But you also don't want to sell for probably a 2 or a 3x if the market is probably gonna do a lot more than that. So welcome to Blockchain Decoded. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, and let's get into it. So yesterday I dropped a video where I was saying that I sold my ETH, right? And I sold about 50% of my Ethereum, want to make it 60. And just to set the record straight, I got a lot of comments, people saying like absolutely horrible to sell Ethereum at this time. Although I do think it's funny because a couple months ago when I said like, hey, it's time to buy Ethereum, it was also horrible, right? But again, the point was selling Ethereum for altcoins, right? And therefore you want to look at like, hey, how are alts doing against ETH? And that is sitting really low. So for me, it's not about the money, right? ETH can do another 3x from this point by all means, right? But if altcoins are in the meantime close to bottoming against ETH and go up with it, then the altcoins that I sold my ETH for are likely to go up as well, if not even harder. Right, so I'm not selling for cash, right? Selling for alts, for the people who only like to look at titles, right? I want to make sure that we all have the right position and that we played as well, right? Again, if you look at this chart, yeah, here you want to buy ETH with alts, right? Here you want to sell ETH for alts, right? And I already did it here right now, close enough. And now one of the coins that I bought was Cardano, for example, and maybe lucky, but it was a pretty nice time, actually. If you look at the daily chart, it was bam, right? And that's not for no reason. If you just look at some charts, you can just see like, hey, these altcoins got wrecked against Ethereum, right? Cardano also went down with 60% against ETH. Right, that's not a bad time to convert a little bit, right? And especially if you do it in a 2 or a 3-step DCA. So I'm now making sure that I'm positioning in the right altcoins to make sure that I get the most out of this, right? And I want you to get the most out of this as well, because you can be in altcoins the whole time and see Bitcoin going up and be on the sideline, and then see Ethereum going up, be on the sideline, write a little bit of Bitcoin, write a little bit of ETH, and then convert it, write a little bit of alts. You don't have to time the bottom, the top, but if you trade it a little bit like that, you can basically ride 3 bull markets in one, right? So if you then aim for a 50x, you don't have to wait for a 50x altcoin. You can make a 5x with Bitcoin, right? You can make a 2x with ETH, and then you only need a 10x with alts. That's a lot more realistic than making a 50x with alts at once, right? Especially in a Bitcoin or an ETH season. But now, where could it go, right? Well, I think that alts are going down against ETH a little bit more, right? But again, that's the thing about DCAing, because I don't know, it doesn't have to go to the range low, but I think that there's a good chance that it will, right? But if you then positioned yourself into alts, right, what can we expect? And nothing really hypothetical, nothing like, well, what if, just literally if things happen like they happen right now. And I think the answer is going to shock you, because the answer is probably going to shock you. You have to understand that in order for alts to do well, really well, we need a very, very small alt season, right? And let's go to that definition real quick, because you have to understand, like, otherwise, what are we doing, right? Alt season is a period of time in the crypto market where altcoins overall, right, the general altcoin market for a decent period of time outperform Bitcoin, right? And there are also definitions like when 75 out of the 100 altcoins outperform Bitcoin for longer than 3 months, like it depends a little bit. But an altcoin season, in my book, is where altcoins in general go up really hard against Bitcoin, right? Not in such a bounce, not in such a bounce, not in such a bounce, as such as this cycle, not in such a bounce, not in such a bounce, although it was a nice one, was far from an alt season, right? If you look at the last 2 alt seasons, right, we had this one, and no, it was an alt season, right? But why do we only need a small one? Because if alts outperform Bitcoin, it basically means they take liquidity from Bitcoin, right? That's the money flow. People, they put money into Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin goes up. Eventually, people take profit from their Bitcoin. They put it into ETH. ETH goes up really hard because, hey, take liquidity from BTC and put it into a smaller cap asset, then of course that goes up harder, right? Then if you take that liquidity and put it into alts, which are all over the place, but overall, like not even close to the liquidity and the market cap of BTC, yeah, then they go up like crazy, right? So you don't have to ask, like, where's the money coming from? Apart from the money printers, like, the 120K that's sitting in Bitcoin right now, right? The 120K dollars, right? There's a lot of liquidity in Bitcoin. Take 1%, put it into the altcoin market, and they 5x, right? Not exactly that, but like it has a big impact. So now we see that it's happening with ETH. And what's funny is that if you look at the Bitcoin dominance went down with 10%. To put it in perspective, last alt season, the Bitcoin dominance went down 47%, right? So this move isn't even 5 times like what it was in the last alt season, let alone the one before that. But even with a 10% drop, ETH, as the highest cap altcoin, already did a 3.5x while this thing went down 10%. The highest cap altcoin did a 3.5x while the Bitcoin dominance went down with just 10%. Because there's so much liquidity right now. Therefore, we don't need this alt season to be the biggest, right? It's not going to be bigger than this one, right? In terms of alts outperforming BTC, right? That's alt season, right? It's not going to be bigger than the last one. But it doesn't have to be. Because in the last alt season, Bitcoin wasn't 120K, right? Let alone if Bitcoin even goes higher than that. So if you put that money into altcoins, that's nuts. Now let's take a look at actual numbers. And in this video, I also want to do a cool announcement, because yeah, I don't even know if I want to announce it, but I'm releasing a. Do I want to announce it? Maybe. I'll stay watching. I don't even know yet. I'm so impulsive. Maybe, maybe not. Let's take a look at the actual numbers. Right. So what do we want to look at to put it a little in perspective? Do you want to look at altcoins, right, on the dollar pair and be like, well, you know, let's take a look. I don't know. Let's look at Doge, right? Doge. If you look at the FIP 618, blah, 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 then it could go to 120. Could be, by the way. It's a good number, actually. But I think it's a little different than that. There are two things that you can do. You can look at the dominance. For a lot of Bitcoins, you can find the dominance. Type something .d and you get the dominance of that coin. And here you can see, for example, that Doge dominance is kind of oscillating, right? Since 2022 at least, right? So if we take this range right now, not a breakout of the last whatever the hell it was, right? Here it was also ranging and it broke out big time. Let's just stick with the current range, right? If it just goes from this point to the top of the range, then that's a 2.5x, right? So 2.5x, 2%, let's say, right? 2% of the current money in the market, right? Now, that 2.5x from this point for Doge, money-wise, is what, 60 cents, something like that? 62 cents, right? Nice. What if the market goes up in general and Doge sits at that dominance, right? I mean, we're doing that, right? So what if the market goes to, I don't know, 5 trillion, 6, maybe 10, I don't know, right? Then Doge could be sitting at 120 or even higher, right? But let's take a look at the general altcoin market, because I honestly think that it's going to go completely nuts, and we don't need any more money from the outside, right? I mean, let it be. Like it's welcome. Like, hey, if you have money not in crypto, put it the fuck in, right? No problem. But we don't need it, right? What we can see is very cool, actually. If you look at the dominance, right? Dominance is our key. Right. If you look at the dominance for Bitcoin, ETH, USDT, USDC, and DAI, basically. So almost everything, maybe a couple other stable coins not included, but doesn't make or break, right? Dominance for everything except alts, right? Then this is what we see. Sitting really high right now, right? This is a typical oscillator. Bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. This bottom right here is alt season. Right? That means that the money that's now sitting in Bitcoin and or ETH and or stables flows into alts. And this has, again, nothing to do with money that comes from the outside. But yeah, the massive adoption that we have right now is kind of ridiculous. So, but let's not even mention that. Let's keep our expectations very in check, right? How much did this went down from the last top? From the top, the 16th of June, all right, which was here, this chart went down 4%. 4%. Cool. What happened dollar-wise to altcoins during that 4% decline? Let's take a look at the total altcoin market without stables from the 16th of June. This week right here, 60%. That's 25 times, right, as much as that 4% drop. That's bullshit. 15, whatever, 15. So let's go back to this chart, because now we know that, you know, on average, if this dominance drops with 4%, that the altcoin market goes up 60-ish%, right? And it will be a little diminished the higher we get, because it takes more money to eventually pump that. But, you know, give or take. How much further do we, you know, have to go down to go to the range low? And I'm not gonna take the wick, right? We're gonna make this video pretty conservative, in my opinion. From this point, if we get an alt season, it's going to be about, let's put it at 16. Let's be bearish, right? Let's be very bearish. Kappa would love this, right? 16%. Right? That's 4 times as much. 16. All right. Now, let me be a retard. And what's 16 times 15? Because that's eventually, right, the answer, how much the altcoin market would pump based on that move. That's 240. So let's go back to the altcoin markets right here. And 200, and again, this outcome, again, no new money included. The percentages are a little rounded to the downside, right? So this is, by any means, not a bull case scenario. This is just the normal, if there's an alt season, then this is give or take what it will be, right? Okay, so if we go up from here with 240%, then it would put us, oh, wow, 240, around $2.8 trillion. Okay. 2.8 trillion. Now, I know that if you're watching this and you are maybe a little bearish for some reason or cautious or whatever, you might look like, what? How? Well, how? Like, crypto, right? So 2.8 trillion. Right now, is that weird compared to the last cycles, right? If you take it from the absolute low, right? 2.8, that's a 1,500% increase, right? Is that so impossible from low to high in a full cycle? Last cycle, it was 3 times as much, right? So we also include a 3x diminishing return in this. Oh, that's pretty sick. Now, if you are super bullish, and you might hear this and you'd be like, 240%? I need 240% to play even because I messed up or whatever. And let me tell you, this is the high cap market, right? These are like, there's everything in the top 125. Rank 100 will probably do better than rank 5, right? Rank 1000, way more risky, could go to shit. But if it doesn't, could do 50x better than rank 200, right? It compensates for each other, of course, right? So that's, again, with the current money flow that's going on, keeping in mind that there are diminishing returns, rounding it to the downside, and no new money flowing into the crypto market. This is, it sounds bullish, right? And it is bullish, but then again, we are in a bull market. What do you want, right? But this is cautious, right? This is actually really cautious. If we had it in the last bull market, then we would have topped out here, right? Here, this point. That would not even, that would have been a double top. That would not even put us at new highs, right? That's now what I like calculated right here based on whatever the hell, right? So is it really that like, whoa? Or is it like, you know, it's crypto. There is a lot of liquidity, right? And I get the argument. There are more altcoins, definitely. But are there that much more altcoins that still are really out there and that everybody knows and take a lot of liquidity? Or is it like maybe not that much more if you exclude all the dead and the rugged and the whatever coins? Because there were a lot of scams, right? Yeah, people don't buy those anymore. You cannot buy them anymore. So no problem, I think. So that's kind of the goal that you could say like, okay, possible, 240%. Right now, this move right here from August 2024 until the top of December was 211, right? So it means that it could be a little bigger than this, right? From the absolute wick to the absolute top, right? This was a period in crypto, you probably remember, where we don't look back and be like, oh yeah, 3 X's were made. No, like there were like 10 X's all over the place, if not more. Right, so there's a pretty good time coming, in my opinion, actually. Therefore, I feel like, okay, the best strategy, in my opinion, right? I like what works for me. I know what works for me. I know what doesn't work for me. Is first look like, okay, what's somewhat of a realistic target, right? And then set goals. If you first set your goals, like, yeah, I want a 50x. Cool. Based on what, right? And is that realistic? Is that possible? Right? If you now know, like, okay, it could go there. That could mean altcoins overall 10, 15x, right? Maybe some shit coins 50 or 100, but a gamble, whatever. But then you know, like, hey, if a 10, 15x, whatever, is kind of in line with expectation, what the fuck am I talking? Then you know that you don't set your goals at 100x or at a 3x, right? Unless you are really conservative, like me. Well, really, I think I'm more conservative than the average investor because it's my job. I cannot risk a lot. It's already risky enough, right? And I did pretty well this bull market, so I have a goal, and yeah, from this point, it's not that much anymore. So I'm taking 80% off the table once I reach my goal. And probably people will say like, well, are you selling too soon? No, I'm selling maybe too soon if I would have had another goal, right? But I look at my goal and then it's not too soon, then it's perfect, right? Why take unnecessary risk, right? Because if you have no goals, yeah, then you could say like, well, I just sell wherever the market goes. But then you're trying to time the top and that won't work. So stick to your goal, fuck that. Don't try to get the most out of it because you will round trip, right? So that's kind of my expectation. Now, you could, right? Again, it's very comparable and maybe a little more, but again, let's cut that off as well. So let's just compare individual altcoins with that move from, the peak bottom August until the peak top December, right? Individual coins, and be like, hey, what did they do back then? So how do these coins react to such a pump, right? And one pumps earlier, one is a lagger, so it's not conclusive, but you have a little bit of an idea, right? For example, what Dogecoin did back then was, is it on the dollar pair? Yeah. What Dogecoin did was a 6x, right? Now, I don't want to say that Doge is a safe coin. I mean, it's a meme coin. But then again, it's a blue chip, man. Doge is older than ETH. Yeah. It's like crazy. It stood the test of time. So why not, right? Well, such a high cap, apparently 6x. Bam, right? So what if it does about a 6x from, that's loud, 6x from this point, 150. I'm not going to sit there and be like, Doge can go to $5, but I'm also not going to sit there and be like, well, maybe previous all-time high. Why maybe previous all-time high? It's a bull market. These things make new highs in a bull market, right? At least Doge. So 150 could be a target for Doge, right? Then what you want to do, in my opinion, is there's a link down below. Free platform, free, 100%. No pay, nothing. There's nothing behind it. It's really coming from a good place, made by a community member in the L Factory called GTFO. It's a platform. There you can fill in your portfolio, but also your exit strategy, right? So you can set your targets to DCA out. Now, what you can do is say like, hey, I think Doge goes to 150, right? So in that case, I want to create a DCA out plan where the last DCA is 150, right? Because you don't want to wait for that 150 and don't sell anything in the meantime. What if it goes to 140 and goes down again? Round tripped, wrecked. Most of you, fortunately, get wrecked in this bull market, right? Maybe I will as well. I don't know. But most of the people will. That's just what it is. That's always been the case. That's why other people make so much money, right? So set your goal in that case, at the final goal at 150, and DCA out on your way up there. And then on GTFO, you can also see like, hey, so if I do that, how much do I actually walk away with? Because if you sell a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, you're not going to walk away with a 6x, maybe with a 3.5x, right? But that's fine if it lines up with your goal, right? And if it doesn't, if you need more, then you know like, okay, I should be in riskier shit than Doge. That would be the good approach, the Doge approach. I think that we should be able to have good expectations, right? Again, I know how these comments go sometimes, like, it won't happen, insert reason, right? Like, but this is literally what has proven so far, which is playing out at the minute that I'm filming this, right? So, of course, the market can throw a curveball, everything can unexpected, like, change, etc. But yeah, if you keep that in mind all the time, then why are you investing in the first place if you assume that everything will go to shit because of some kind of a black swan or whatever, right? That could always be the case. But the market is still strong. Bitcoin just made a new all-time high. It got retraced a little bit. It's fine, but it shows like, hey, no problem. I can make a new all-time high still, right? Ethereum was very close to making a new all-time high, actually. It's $100 difference, basically. So it is still really healthy. Now, soon we will launch Blockchain Decoded. Blockchain Decoded is the platform where you can basically, I don't want to spoil too much, but it's basically the platform where you can say like, hey, I don't really know what to look at. Do I have to look at this indicator? Do I have to look at that? We have that Bitcoin heat meter. We have an alt season heat meter. We have even a degen heat meter comparing low caps to high caps, showing exactly time to buy, time to sell. It's not financial advice, but it's backed by insane metrics, the best metrics. Some, you know, right? The pi cycle top indicator, that kind of stuff, but with a few tweaks and a couple indicators that you have never heard of. But if you backtest them, you will see that they are really good, really good. So you know when to buy, when to sell, but also what to buy, when to sell, right? And when to shuffle. Because shuffling, honestly, guys, it's the most important thing. You don't want to overtrade yourself out of the market. Definitely not, right? But just buying and holding, it's safe, but it's not the most profitable way. I showed that in yesterday's video. If you bought a little Bitcoin, eventually made a X, put it into ETH, make some X's right there, then put it into alts, make some X's right there. You will be sitting at a 50X before you know it, and you barely took any risk compared to someone who was in the altcoin market the whole time waiting for 100X, seeing his coins go down, right? It's the key in crypto, right? You don't want to depend on getting lucky. It's not a casino. It somewhat is, but it's there's strategy involved. There's experience, there's a little brain cells involved. If you apply this right, you can make so much out of it. Do I want to share this? I don't know. This can cause some reputational damage. So I want to give a big disclaimer. I want to do this for fun, and I'm not making promises at all. And if you don't like, but I do want to mention it once, okay? I was sitting on Twitter a couple of days ago, and I saw someone say, buy the dip. And I was like, where can I buy it? I was like, man, there's not a coin that's called the dip. But that's fucking genius. Like, that's like, I don't know, maybe it's nicer in my head than it will be. But I think that this is pretty cool. So I'm releasing a meme coin called the dip. And the dip is just a meme coin, right? No expectations, no crazy shit. But I feel like some coins are just, they have that viral thing over it, that viral taste, that viral whatever. I think that this could be that. Maybe it won't, right? So therefore, I don't want to create any expectations. I'm very busy with the Alpha Factory. If you are there, you know. If you're not there, what the fuck are you not there? Join the Alpha Factory down below. People there get a very small airdrop, right? I'm working on Web3 Wheels. I'm working on Blockchain Decoded. I don't want to like put more work to what I already have, especially when it comes to a meme coin. But I want to do this, and I think that this is going to be fun. So, little teaser.
There once was a mysterious and famous little creature, yet nobody knew he actually existed. For decades, he has been hiding his silence while people were talking about him, recommending, advising, screaming, preaching, and studying. This little man never showed his face and already changed the lives of many people and retired many bloodlines. He strictly lives by the 10 Commandments. For example, thou shalt not kill, love, and buy the dip.
Maybe I am not as mature as I thought I was. Maybe a lot of people in crypto aren't as well, and this will fit perfectly. So buy the dip, I mean, everybody is saying buy the dip, right? So this is the world's most recommended meme coin ever by far. Not even meme coin, just asset in general, right? So you will see buy the dip, or the dip actually, a lot on Twitter, because it will be mentioned by the biggest accounts ever out there, right? Even like, man, I don't even know, but the biggest accounts out there that say buy the dip, you know, we will say thanks for recommending us, man. Doesn't make sense, by the way, because the dip is actually a Dorito, not the dip itself. Yeah, for years people have been telling you to buy it. Soon you can, right? So I would say keep your eyes on it. I will leave a link down below. I just think it's funny. Again, I just want to get it out there. You know, we'll see, right? But again, don't have like the expectations that we're gonna do like the billboards and this and that and there, right? If this thing goes out there and it gets picked up by the shitcoin trench algorithm or whatever it's called, and it just goes completely crazy, okay, then we will do something, right? But if it's just like, and nobody looks at it, I'll be like, okay, we stay a little active, but I'm not gonna do like crazy stuff. Like, let's see if something just can go viral because I think it's funny. Probably not. We'll see. So, disclaimer enough. I think I've motivated you pretty nicely not to buy it, but if you want, hey, I'm a buy something, right? But that's overall, again, my expectation for the altcoin market so far. We'll see how it goes. Will we get a good correction in the meantime? I think so. Others on their Ethereum pair, again, if you look at like where it is sitting, the oscillator risk score is it's also a metric that we have made for the blockchain Decoded platform. This purely looks like, hey, how many like the level where we are right now in full history, right? Has it spent a lot of time below that? Well, in this case, no, right? And now it's flashing green. And that basically says like, hey, watch out, because at these low levels, it's not sustainable here. It didn't flash green a lot, right? It flashed green right here. Well, there was a mega pump, and it flashed green right here as well. And that was a mega pump. And now it started to flash green again, right? This indicator on its own is such a beast. And this will be one of the features on Blockchain Decoded as well. But therefore, I think it's a nice time to convert Ethereum into alts. If you're not too picky about the bottom, which in my opinion you should not be. If you look at the RSI, sitting really low. It's really oversold right now. If you look at the RSI on the daily, it's really oversold right now. So I know I got a lot of comments like, well, yeah, you have to wait for new ETH all-time highs. Again, I don't care about the price because I'm not selling it for dollars. I'm selling it for alts. And if I look at alts on their ETH pair, that's sitting really low right now. So that's a good point to me, right? And this is how I'm approaching the market, just trying to make the most out of it. If it turns out to be the right decision, we'll find out. I think it will, otherwise I would have not done it, but nobody has the answer until the market gives it to us, right? So we'll see, guys. Again, thanks for watching. If you like the content, please smack that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, follow the dip on Twitter. I'm gonna leave a link down below in the comments as well, and I'll see you in the next one.